We thank y'all. We thank everybody for coming. We'd like to thank Van Life, like I said again, for throwing another event every year. It's been great. The weather been great this year, so everybody been having a good time. My name is Levon Smith. I work for Victron Energy. Um, this is my co-worker, Jen. Want to mention something?
Hi, I'm Jen Numi. We're part of the North American team for Victron. Um, we've been enjoying all your questions in the past couple of days, and we're excited to answer a lot more in this session. Um, I'm an ambassador for Victron, and I've also done a lot of Victron installs, mainly in the marine space. Also have worked on a couple vans and RVs as well.
Yeah, good, great. All right. Been working with Victron going on 4 years now. Started out as a driver for Victron, driving a training trailer around, the same trailer we having over here. Since I've been here, I've been upgraded to help out with the training. I became the training coordinator, and been learning a lot. Whole new world of me. But over the years, I've been learning a whole lot. Just a little backdrop on Victron. Victron is a company that's been around since 1975. Last year was its 50th anniversary. Ryan Vader is the company's owner name. He's the father, and he has a son named Matthias. Um, that's where the name Victron comes from. Ryan Vader, the V for Victron comes from his last name, Vader. Um, the I comes from um, um, uh, integrating circuits and electronics, and that's how he get the name Victron from integrating electronics. He started out as a fisherman. It's a Dutch company. They're from out of the Netherlands, and he used to fish exotic fishes. And by the time he goes out and comes back with his fishes, half of the load will be dead. So he needed an inverter. So he brought an inverter from a guy, and the inverter worked for a little while, and then it broke on him. When he went to go get it repaired, he was interested in it, and he seen how the guy fixed it, so it struck his interest, and he started making his own inverter. And in 1975, Victron came out with their very first inverter, and the rest of the story, is history. Victron is a global company. Main ties really is in Europe, Africa, Australia, and now we've been making pretty big noise over here in North America. Like Jen said, we're part of the North American team. Victron is a global company, and it's been doing real good ever since COVID. Things kind of skyrocketed for off-grid, and it's been doing. We got batteries, we got a few components we're gonna go over before we're doing the Q&A, and that's what I wanted to mention. Um, okay, yeah. So tech support. Victron is real big about getting you guys the best equipment. They're really concerned before they're sending anybody out doing off grid. They want to make sure you have the best equipment, and they invest a lot in everybody, the user end, getting some understanding. So what they do over here in North America, they do a 2-day training that we go around state to state all over North America to give people understanding. A lot of people say Victron is complicated. There's a lot going on. Victron, to work our components, it really takes two things: power and communication. And every component that Victron has, it needs power and it needs communication. And through our servo, it's an ecosystem with Victron products. All of the products tie in together with the communication cables. So you could get a screen like we have over there, or are y'all familiar with the touch screen to see what all your components are doing. And they also have for the end users, they got the thing called a VRM, virtual remote monitoring. So you could be not right there with your unit, or you could be anywhere around the world, and you can monitor your unit and turn things off and on, or get alerts if something getting hot. A lot of people like to leave the pets behind, and you can monitor yourself from all over the United States. Um, what else we got, Jen? Uh, Training tech support. Okay.
I can add it.
Okay.
Another thing about Victron is
We have
that they're always.
one of our staff members
Hold on a sec.
has lost her purse. Kind of an important thing black purse. Bagalini. It says Bagalini on the black purse. So if you find a black purse, would you please bring it to the Van Life Outfitters Pavilion? Thank you.
All right. Another great thing about Victron is their product development. They're on the forefront of product development. Basically, their staff in the Netherlands are mostly engineers. Most of the company employees are engineers that are dedicated to research and development. So that's why you're always seeing great product updates and also very feature-rich products. We're going to go over some of the basic products we are showcasing today that you'll find in most Victron systems.
You want to start it off, Jim?
Yeah.
I'll hold it for you.
One of the most popular newer products that have been developed is the Orion XS, the 50 amp. Hopefully, we've gotten a lot of questions about them. One of the good things is they run a lot cooler than the older Orions, as many of you know. And it's also rated for 50 amps, and there's also a 24 volt version, the Orion 1400. That's also come out, and we have been hearing rumors that there's also a Orion 70 amp coming out, hopefully in the future, and also possibly bidirectional. So I'm going to hand this around, and also just the very basics for the Orion XS. The use is to charge from an alternator to your house battery, to charge your house battery.
You want to go to servo?
Yeah, so the next thing we have is a Servo GX. Hold on, we're going to hold off. We're going to do questions later, for sure. So this will be just a very quick overview. How many of you do have a Servo? Just one? Really? I'm surprised. Okay, well, the Servo GX is a great device. If you've been up to our trailer, we have the screen up behind the counter, and that basically is showcasing your whole electrical system. So the Servo enables us to do that. It's basically a data center, so you plug all the different Victron components into it, and it takes all of them, communicates with all of them, so they communicate with each other. And then also we have a Touch 50 or Touch 70 display screen, which basically relays all that information so we can see it in a readable version.
I'm going to get the solar. It's like MPPT.
Yep. And I'm going to hand the Servo around as well so you can get a closer look at it.
Thank you.
Another basic component of a Victron system is an MPPT. Now, how many of you have an MPPT or a solar charge controller? All right, a few more. That's good. That's great. So one thing to note about the MPPT is to take your solar voltage, regulate it down to a proper battery voltage. So you might have 20 volts coming in from your solar, then it's going to step it down to 12 volts if you have a 12 volt system, or if you have a 24 volt system, it would be different. One thing to note is that you have to have a 5 volt differential before it starts charging. So 5 volts above battery voltage before it will kick into charging gear.
You want to talk about the battery?
Yeah. And today we brought an example of the new NG line of lithium batteries that we have. Does anyone have Victron batteries here? No? Okay, well, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that Victron actually does sell batteries. They're very high quality. One of the differences is they are external BMS controlled.
Right there.
versus internal BMS controlled. So this is the version of the smallest. This is a 12 volt 100 amp hour battery, NG battery here. As you can see, it's probably the cutest battery that you've ever seen. Very compact, high energy density. It's amazing that they can fit 100 amp hours in this small box.
Right.
If you think about, back to AGM's normal group 31 was probably about around 100 amp
That's
hours. So.
He said cheap seats.
So, yeah, it's very compact, very nice.
Okay.
It makes it great to fit in small spaces.
And you got the inverter, Jen.
And now we have the inverter charger, the multi-plus. How many of you have a multi-plus?
Okay.
Only a couple? Okay. Well, the multi-plus line is a very popular line of inverter chargers. You take AC power to in, acts as a battery charger, converts 120 or 240 into 12 volts or 24 volts, depending on your battery voltage. And then if you don't have a plug-in or if you're not on shore power or generator, it will switch to inverter mode and then take from your battery bank and power your outlets or your air conditioner if they're 120 or 240 volts. So they're very good pieces of gear. They're very feature rich. They do need to be programmed. Most installers will pre-program them for you. But if not, you can take a shot at it and try and program it yourself. There's some good YouTube videos on how to do that. You'll need a couple different tools. If you have a servo, you can program it through VRM on the servo. But if not, you need to program it through MK3 USB dongle. And Levon has one right here. Well, we had a couple of questions about it today.
Yeah,
So.
you brought it over. Okay. All right.
So we'll open it up to questions now. I'm sure.
MK3? What was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Jen, you want to repeat it, the MK3?
What's that?
He wanted to repeat what the
We have a
MK3.
question here, Jen.
Yeah, just a quick, the MK3 to USB is what you use to program the multi-plus.
Multiplus.
You'll plug the communication cable, that blue cable, the RJ45, into the multi-plus RJ45 port, and then use the dongle to go to your laptop or Android device through Victron Connect.
Right here.
What's the largest lithium battery you make? Largest for amperage?
Well, we have.
The 100 there.
Did everyone hear the question? Yeah. Okay, good. In the 12 volt line, the largest one we have is a 300 amp hour. But there's also a 24 volt 300 amp hour. And then there's a 48 volts. Is that 100 amps or maybe 200 amps?
I think it's 200.
Yeah, 200 amps. So that's a lot. The 48 volt one would be the largest battery.
Is the trend?
Hold on, let's get the mic so everyone can hear you.
Right here?
Is the trend going to 48 volts?
Is the trend?
Going to 48 volts or 24 volts? Or where are we headed?
Yes, in general, the trend is going to 24 and 48 volts.
Why don't they just jump to 48 and skip 24? Is there a reason?
I'm actually not quite sure. It's a good question. One reason I can think of is maybe just when it comes to solar charging, getting up to that 48 volts, you have to have enough panels to get that voltage differentials.
What is the sweet spot for solar
charging? 24 volts or what?
It's
If there is a sweet spot on
no, there's not really a sweet spot for solar charging. One of the reasons I mentioned with the 48 volt system is that you have to have 5 volts above battery voltage to start charging. A lot of 100 watt, 200 watt panels, they output maybe 20 volts. So then even then for a 24 volt system, you'd have to wire them in series, to get a high enough voltage above battery voltage for them to start charging.
it. But the 12 volts now is still dominant
Yes, 12 volts is still dominant
and probably will be for
for a
foreseeable
while.
years.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I think in newer systems are starting to go to 24 and 48, but there's still a lot of 12 volt systems out there.
Is it worth making the jump to 24 or 48? Is that a good idea to do?
I think it's worth it. I mean, just as efficiency is better on the higher voltages. Yeah, you can use smaller cables, which is nicer. Also less weight, less expensive. So I think it's worth it.
Is 24 volts more heavy duty than 12, or isn't that a question?
No, it's not necessarily more heavy duty. It's more just about the efficiency and also the smaller cables, smaller wires you can use.
You mentioned 2-day training. Tell me a little bit about your 2-day training. Where are you going to be?
Okay. So every year we do a 2-day training tour. If you got a Victron professional account, it's free. You can go on the Victron website, Victron Professional, and you sign in for free. And they have all the communities and talks and questions and answers and great things, what's coming out new. And they also have a section with training tour. And when you click on the training, they give you all the dates around America that we're gonna be at. No. Anybody could come to you could be a beginner all the way up to a 50-year, installer. Yes, ma'am. So on Victron Professional, you could sign up for the training. We'll be in Virginia on the 16th, Chicopee, Virginia, on the 16th, starting our first training this year. It varies every year, but we probably do 20. Yeah, we do a lot of state. We go state to state. I'm the driver. That's our training trailer that we in, and we go state to state all the way, even Canada. We go to Canada as well. Yes, ma'am.
When are you going to do this area next?
We got to check the schedule. Yes, sir.
There you go.
How well does Victron play with like other manufacturers? As far as mixing, matching between Lithionics and others, Volta and other systems.
So they have a few. What's the word I'm looking for, Jen?
Integration,
It's a
third-party integration.
Third-party integration that Victron tests with already, that has the check, but they also have other third-party people that just done it on their own, and you get mixed hearing about it. Sometimes they say it's been working fine for the last year, or some of them say they tried it and it didn't work. But there's only a few of them that Victron signed off on because they tested, and that's Victron does. Like a lot of people ask, when is the next 1414, when it's coming out, and Victron don't have a date set particularly for no component. They like to complete the component and then they shoot it out. They don't have a set date for any component. They like to get the component done right and then send it out to the people. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you were saying earlier that you had a converter charger that would accept either 120 or 240 volts. Does it automatically decide, or do I have to convert it from one to the other operating voltage?
For our inverter charger line, it's only one or the other. So you have to buy. There's numerous multi-plus models, so you have to buy either a 120 model or a 230 model.
Any other questions?
Did you?
Oh, here we go.
Basic knowledge. I'm not real good at it. I have the Multiplus 3000. I have the MPPT something /20.
Okay.
So it's my belief that I have over capacity solar panels so that MPPT is throttling back the amount that I can bring in. But it says in that case I'm getting better solar coverage at low lights in the morning and in the evening. If I buy the upgraded MPPT that's larger, I'm not going to lose any capacity in the morning or the evening, am I? I'm just going to add capacity to peak performance. Does that sound right?
Yes, that sounds right. If you upgrade your MPPT solar charge controller, then you'll be able to have more charging to your batteries. It's not going to. Basically, your question was you're wondering if it's going to affect your solar performance. No, it shouldn't affect your solar performance. Yes, yes.
Any more
Any other
questions?
questions?
No more questions?
Well,
Oh, okay.
my original question, you mentioned bi-directional. Could you elaborate on that?
Say it again.
Bi-directional. Could you elaborate on that?
So the Orion XS or Orion right now is a one-way input-output. So let's say you can only go from your start battery to your house battery. You can't go from your house battery to your start battery. But if there's a bi-directional feature added, then you could basically choose, it could go either way.
But it doesn't have that feature?
It does not have that
Are they
feature.
gonna have it in the future?
They're working on it, so hopefully yes.
So question to that then, if you have two DC to DC chargers, can one run one way and one run the other way? Instead of having one that's bi-directional, can you force it to be bi-directional by having two?
Yes, you could do that. You could do that.
That was attempted on my rig and it failed.
It failed? Oh.
But you know about that. That's it.
But yeah, you could set it up, but then it's almost like, will you be just canceling the charge out? Well, if you'd have to set it up so only one was running at one time, and the other was running at another time, because they would just they'd just cancel each other out if they were running at both time at the same time.
So just to be clear, you have to do one. You have to do one at a time. You can't do both at the same time.
Basically, yes, because.
It doesn't make sense to do that, but you know, the installer thought that she could do that.
Okay.
Bi-directional is going to be at the same time, or it's going to just cut one off and it's doing one or the other?
Okay, so the question is if bi-directional would happen at the same time. I'm not quite sure. I would think it would be that you would choose one way or the other. That would just have the capability to do one way, and then you would probably go into the settings or choose the other way. Yeah, maybe through the servo. I'm not sure since it's not out yet. We'll see, but it wouldn't make sense for it to happen at the exact same time.
Yeah, kind of a follow-on to that thing. How do you keep, if it's bi-directional, how do you keep the batteries from like balancing each other out or draining each other?
Yes, so that if it ran at the same time, that's where it wouldn't make sense. So.
Yeah, one is lead acid, the other is
Here you go.
lithium.
Yeah.
Are they compatible?
No, they're not compatible, but that's why it has to be directional, because you don't want to be combining battery banks.
How do you want it full? Sorry about
sorry.
that. Now he wants to pull. He didn't want to do that. Can these components be tied together? I see a DC charger, like this unit is an inverter and charger, and then there's a DC to DC charger. One or the other would be what you'd use. And then parallel two of these batteries together into a system installed in your van or in your motorhome, whichever. Would that work out well as far as its own standalone system?
You understand the question?
Just to make sure I understand this correctly, you're saying if you had an inverter charger and then two batteries parallel together and a DC to DC charger.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I see. The DC to DC charger is more battery to battery or DC to DC voltage. The inverter charger, the multi-plus, takes shore power charging and then converts it down to battery voltage to charge.
What's the Victron's recommended way to ground the multi-plus when you're installing it in a van?
Are you talking just the case ground on the multi-plus?
Yes.
In general? Yeah, to the chassis.
Thanks.
And then basically you'll have the DC positive and then DC negative going to the battery, positive and negative.
So you just tie all that together, right? Your multi-plus with your to the chassis along with like a bus bar around it to the chassis.
Yeah, ideally a negative bus bar would be more ideal than just random grounds to the chassis.
Okay, thanks.
That one right there.
Oh.
You're right.
On your batteries, your BMS is a separate unit by itself. You have to have one or two for two batteries.
The BMS is separate; it's external, and you can have one BMS per a couple batteries. Actually, I think we can have up to 25 or 50 batteries for one BMS now.
So you put three in a line, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
You
you could have 3 batteries and one BMS controlling that.
So to be clear, so for your system, one BMS is enough to operate the whole system?
Yes.
So, for example, this morning I had I had 3 lithium batteries, and the BMS, they all shut down, all 3 of them at the same time. Probably low voltage during the night. But each one has their own BMS, and it took them all out. All the batteries shut down.
Is it a Victron system?
No. Well, the Victron system, but not the batteries.
Okay, so the batteries were not Victron
They're
not
line
okay.
batteries.
Okay, but so each battery's BMS shut them down.
Well, shut them off. They
Shut
all
'em
went
off.
down.
Yes.
Overnight. Took me a while to figure that one out. But anyhow, that's why I asked you, you need 1 or 2. So actually, you still need to. I'm not sure how they're keeping. They're shutting down one unit and shut down 2 batteries.
Yes, so let's say you had 3 or 4 batteries with Victron batteries, and you have an external BMS. That BMS would shut down the whole battery system.
But if the batteries are not Victron batteries, that's not the case?
Not necessarily, but internal BMSs on other batteries will probably have the same. They should have the same settings if it's the same brand, so they'll shut down at the same time.
And they did.
He said it
Yes,
did.
and they did.
You want to mention about the internal BMS we got coming up?
Okay.
You said they typically shut down at the same level. What is that level?
That's usually specified by the battery manufacturer.
Want to
So,
take a guess?
All the batteries different.
let's see. It depends. It also depends how you set up your system, because we could set up a Victron system to shut down the batteries, let's say at 20% versus 15%. Or some people may want to go down lower to even 10%. So
But
it just
it's in that
depends.
neck of the woods.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It should be around 15%, ideally.
All right,
That's
thank you.
pretty standard. Go ahead.
Is the sole function of the DC to DC, is the sole function of the DC to DC just to keep the alternator voltage from 12 to 14 for the lithium, because they want 14.1 or whatever it is? Is that the only reason for the DC to DC?
That's one of the reasons. Another reason is to basically regulate the alternator charging, so you're not burning up your alternator when you're driving down the road. Because if you had no
Regulator.
regulator on the alternator, or no DC to DC charger, basically the alternator would just output at max, because the internal resistance on the lithium batteries is so low. It's just going to take all that it can get from the alternator, so then you end up burning up the alternator.
I've got a Winnebago Outlook 22, and it came with two 100 amp acid batteries. I replaced it with a lithium 300 amp, but I didn't do anything else. I changed it parallel to just the one battery. And when I look at the gauge, the battery meter, it stays right in the middle where it's supposed to be. Am I okay operating it without a DC to DC hiccup? Is that hurting the alternator even though the gauge is right in the middle where it always has been?
What size is your alternator?
Whatever they put on the V10 Fords. Does anybody know? It's like the most common one for RVs that are C-Class, that V10 engine.
I'm not.
I don't know what
I'm
they
not
put
sure,
alternator. Maybe it's like 200 amps or something.
Okay, so there might be a few cases where you could possibly not be overworking your alternator, like in your case.
Would it show on the gauge if it was overworked?
Not necessarily, because you just see charging voltage, which is pretty steady, but you wouldn't see the alternator temperature. So like an alternator external regulator, they come with temperature sensors that you can actually bolt to the alternator, and they're monitoring that temperature so the alternator doesn't get too hot. Like a Wake Speed or Arco Zeus external regulator, they take the alternator temperature into consideration. Yeah, the DC to DC charger, the 50 amp, that's basically all you got. So if you had a 100 amp alternator, you can only get the 50 amps charging out of it. So that's how it dials down the charging.
As I recall, I read somewhere, I think it's 120 amps. Is that too small?
Your alternator is at
Yeah, I think
120
I read
amps.
someplace it's 120 amps.
Okay, and
Is that too small?
it depends on how fast you want to charge, really, and how big your battery bank is. So you said you had a 300 amp hour battery?
Right, lithium.
Yeah, lithium. So you're probably working your alternator pretty good. They say in general, a lithium bank can take up to 0.5 C, C being the capacity of the bank. So your lithium ideally would take 150 amps of charging at 300 amps or so. So you could be borderline overworking your alternator. Yeah. So I would recommend always having a DC to DC charger or a external alternator regulator for that.
Can you just put it in line? Like it's going to the battery anyway, can I just like break the positive cable and insert it?
So the question is if you can put a DC to DC charger in line on the positive, and yes, yes, you can.
Any other questions?
You wanted to mention about it, Jen? About our new one coming out all in one?
Oh, we have one.
The built-in BMS?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
super pack.
Will the bi-directional charging be available sometime in our foreseeable future? The XS 1400 or the new XS 70 amp that's coming out?
Honestly, we wish we knew. We had so many people ask for a time frame, but again, we don't get an exact date. So it's basically when it's ready, and it will come out.
Yeah, they're working on it.
They're working on it.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of requests for it. So, yes, if you have feedback or a request for a new product, please let us know, because we'll make sure it gets known. We'll make sure that somehow that it's going to get up over to the Netherlands, so they know. And if they hear enough feedback, they'll start working on it.
Oh.
One other thing that is also coming out is a new line of lithium batteries, and the Super Pack, and they are going to have an internal BMS as well. Any more questions?
On the internal versus external.
Good question. I personally think, I think the external BMS, it's a little more complicated to wire. You have to separate out your charging sources and also your DC loads, but I feel like you get a little more control, and you also get a better sense of what's going on with the battery. So let's say your system shuts down, did it shut down on overcharging? Did it shut down on low voltage? And with an external BMS, you're able to tell that a lot easier than with an internal BMS. Some of the internal BMS battery manufacturers have gotten better, though, with the external comms. So before, sometimes with the internal BMS batteries, there'd be just no communication. So, oh, my battery shut down. Why? I have no power. What's going on? So that's one of the reasons to have an external BMS. An internal BMS battery, though, it's easier to wire up. You don't have to separate out the loads and the charging sources. So they're usually less complicated to wire up as well.
Any other questions?
All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for attending.